guys, it's Reagan and today I'm here with my March wrap up. I cannot believe March is already finished. I can't believe spring is already upon us. I'm excited about it because I love warmer weather. But it does definitely feel like the year is just kind of like passing by way too quickly. But anyway, without further ado, let's jump into the video. For the month of March, I'm actually really pleased with all I was able to read. I was able to complete a total of 5 books and get very far of the way through a 6th one. It was a very long fantasy classic. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about the books. So the first book I was able to complete was Deathcaster by Cinda Williams-Chima. This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I'm still kind of sad that I've already read it because I feel like now I don't have, like, what is there to look forward to? I'm not sure, but this is the 4th book in the Seven Realms series and I really liked it. I really felt like the Shattered Realms series by Cinda Williams-Chima was her strongest YA series to date. It was just incredible. I loved all the characters, the magic, the twists and turns, and just her ability to constantly grow this, at this point, for me, very familiar fantasy world and just constantly not only increase the stakes, but add like different geographical regions and political alliances and different types of magic and characters into the mix that not only keeps it fresh, but just like constantly grows the plot and makes it so good. Also, as the final book to this series, it obviously was tying up a lot of loose ends along the way, meaning this particular novel was not only incredibly explosive and a page turner, but also was constantly keeping me guessing, but in like a satisfying way because you knew ultimately Cinda was going to answer those questions. This was a great final book to this series. If you haven't read anything by Cinda Williams-Chima, please give it a try. You do have to start with the Seven Realms series before jumping into the Shattered Realms series, but honestly that's a good thing. That means you have 8 amazing books to read because they're so great. I loved this final novel. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I'm sad it's over, but I'm hopeful that more books will be coming eventually. From there, I finished The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which means I have completed my reread of this original Mistborn trilogy, which again is another bittersweet thing. This is one of my all-time favorite trilogies. This was so much fun to reread over the past few months. It is even better the second time somehow, and I honestly had forgotten so much about this series, so rereading it was just a joy because I felt like I was rediscovering so many new things about the plot, but also noticing some like really great Cosmere stuff now that I have knowledge of other Brandon Sanderson books as well. This 3rd book was by far the most explosive, the mysteries and everything kind of coming together in a very Brandon Sanderson type fashion. Ironically speaking, I knew how this book was going to end, but at the same time, I felt like he gets me every time. It's like I knew what was gonna happen, but it didn't matter because how he writes about it like still makes it blow my mind. This is just such a fantastic high fantasy trilogy and honestly the perfect place to start if you haven't read any Brandon Sanderson previously. It is about a ragtag team of individuals basically trying to overthrow the Dark Lord who has presided over this land for 1,000 years. As well as this has a super cool magic system centering around the consumption of metals and honestly just an explosive, ever-expanding plot that is in such a classic Brandon Sanderson style. It is just so good and you love everyone and I feel like he just makes you feel for characters even when you hate them. It's confusing, but it was great. So obviously I gave this 3rd novel a 5 out of 5 stars. I already knew I was going to give it that because I've already loved it in a past life. From there, I picked up The Keeper of the Lost Cities Never Seen by Shannon Messenger. This is the 4th book to the Lost City series, which I have also been reading for the past few months. I really liked this 4th installment. I feel like it really kind of cracked open the world a bit more. This is a middle grade fantasy story centering around elves and kind of this elven civilization and magic. Our main character Sophie goes to a magic school and basically finds herself at a center of a very dark, deep mystery that impacts the politics of the elfin world and also like her own origin. You watch Sophie grow up, make a lot of friendships, get close to a new family. It's so sweet and endearing in that way, but there's also a very dark mystery at its center and these books do deal with a lot of like dark topic, mourning, betrayal, all sorts of things like that. I really enjoyed this 4th installment. As I said, I really felt like it expanded the world quite a bit. We followed these characters in a new location. They had to kind of encounter new mysteries and new like emotional things that they hadn't previously. I I'm also just like growing so attached to everyone that I just like want to protect them with my life. But like I can't wait to read the 5th book in this series because it's just like so explosive. I read these so quickly. This one I want to say was almost 700 pages, but I read it in such a short amount of time. But yeah, I feel like Shannon Messenger does such a great job turning a lot of middle grade tropes kind of on their head and bringing plots to unexpected places. It's been such a joy reading this series. I gave this 4th one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Might be my favorite so far, but it's hard to say because I've just loved every installment so much. But yes, I pick up something that was a little more lighthearted, so I grabbed China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan, which is the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians, and this was just as glamorous, if not more so, than the first one, and it was just intoxicating and hilarious and such a page turner. Honestly, it's like Real Housewives mixed with Vanderpump Rules and like all of my favorite reality TV shows crammed into one more dramatic book, and I was there for every second of it. I mean, in a lot of ways, this series is set up almost like a fantasy book. I mean, we have so many characters that come from really complex family ties and family lines, and where you're kind of sitting amongst a family means a lot. There's also a lot of familial drama, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of conniving and politicking. It's honestly just like a reality TV show mixed with Game of Thrones, set in like Singapore, and this one also mostly set in China, and it was awesome. This book takes place kind of shortly after the happenings at the end of the first one, and I honestly didn't think they could get more outrageous in terms of the spending and kind of like where everyone goes in the lifestyle, but like Kevin Kwan really ups it a level, as well as kind of brings the drama to a whole new level as well. There's also this kind of hilarious Cinderella storyline that kind of goes through this whole book surrounding a very unexpected character, which I also just loved every second of. It's a great series because we follow a lot of different perspectives, and it just provides such like an outrageous good time. Like it's a true page turner and laugh out loud funny. Loved it so much. Gave this 4 out of 5 stars. So entertaining. And the last book I completed was the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. And before I get started, I just want to quickly shout out thank you to everyone for reminding me constantly, because for some reason I kept forgetting that I had not read this book before, which is accurate. I thought I had because the covers are very similar for a lot of N.K. Jemisin's books, but I had not read the 5th season. But my goodness, guys, this book was absolutely incredible. I mean, talk about an explosive fantasy novel. Shouldn't be surprised this won the Hugo Award in 2016. It's a very lauded author, very lauded series, but I'm so almost mad at myself for waiting so long to read this because it was incredible. I mean, there's so many things about this book that just made it great. First and foremost, I think the magic and the setting is just purely fascinating. This takes place on a span of planet, I suppose, called the Stillness, which is an ironic term because it's constantly not still. It's plagued with earthquakes and all sorts of like civilization ending catastrophes. And this is actually a common occurrence, civilization ending, and it kind of marks the pace of time within this world. Therefore, because of all of this earth activity, humankind has tried to adapt. They don't settle near fault lines, they store a lot of food, but like ultimately, depending on how bad the catastrophe is, it doesn't really matter. Civilization kind of ends and they are forced to rebuild, which just provides a really interesting backdrop. Like Mother Earth, or like planet Earth, if this is Earth, I'm not sure, is almost like a main character to the story, because like no matter what the characters are ultimately doing, no matter what they're trying to accomplish, technically Earth could just like say sorry and destroy everything in everyone's paths, which I think is really interesting. But another component to this book is the magic system, which basically there are individuals who can control Earth. They can cause earthquakes, they can stop earthquakes. But because of this and because of everyone's general fear of catastrophe, these people with these powers are basically like chained to society. They have to live and work under very, very tight rules and have no control over their lives. This book is a multi-perspective fantasy novel, and I just feel like is just fascinating. There's this deep-rooted mystery throughout the entire thing that kind of makes you turn the page. N.K. Jemisin's kind of the master of foreshadowing. Like, she kind of drops clues throughout the entire story, but you're really just trying to uncover what the crap is going on the entire time. There is no info dumping at all. You are like grasping for any type of grounding within this book, which again just adds to the overall storytelling element. N.K. Jemisin also blindsided me entirely. I feel like I was constantly picking my jaw up off the ground because she was just like shocking me left and right. I also feel like N.K. Jemisin did so many interesting things with this book. This is a very dark book, a very serious book, an adult book, has a lot of adult themes, so definitely want to call that out. She really touches on so many different topics, and I feel like she explores them so well. Race, gender, sexuality, identity, motherhood, like freedom, like so many things are touched on in this book, and I just felt like it was amazing. It was such a great first book in the series. I'm rambling on, but I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Cannot wait to read the next book in the series because I'm still kind of left breathless from this book, and I am still kind of grasping for what in the world is gonna happen next. So good. The very last book I'm going to talk about is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is the book I have not finished. I'm on page 550 of 800 and something. So I did get very far, but I wasn't able to quite complete it before the end of the month, but no big deal. I will finish it in April. I am loving this book so much. I'll try to keep it brief and kind of save an overall wrap up from when I complete it. I do feel like this book is the classic fantasy I love to read. It's multi-perspective, set in different lands, but basically mainly there's this East and West kingdom. The East has completely isolated itself from the West. And basically about 1,000 years ago to the start of the story, there was a huge catastrophic demonic event where like these creatures rose from the earth and basically almost destroyed humankind. Because of this event, it was stopped, and it was kind of the origin to everyone's religion, but the interpretation varied depending on the geographical location. And because of these different interpretations, these kingdoms not only do not talk to each other, they do not trust each other, and they don't even they basically think each other as heathens, which is a very interesting backdrop. And when we're reading from all these different perspectives, you're reading from people from all around this world and all these different kingdoms. And as the threat kind of is looming again, you're kind of seeing not only these kingdoms' fate bleed into each other, but you're just like, what's gonna happen next? This also involves a lot of dragons. Again, lots of like slow burning politics, but that is something I absolutely love. I'm really enjoying this a lot. I'm not finished yet, so I'll hold off on a star rating, but I have a feeling this is going to be a new favorite. Guys, those are all of the books I completed for the month of March. Let me know down below some books you read recently, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!